We are to solve the quadratic equation negative 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 equal to 0 by formula method. We know that for a quadratic equation, if we take the general form of a quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, for a not equal to 0, because if a is equal to 0, this will go to a linear equation. For a different from 0 and a, b, c being real numbers. For us to solve this quadratic equation by making use of the formula method, we know that x will simply be equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Then we have to divide all this at the numerator by 2a. So if you write something as such, most often you see students writing something of this form. It's 4ac, then they will just divide this part by 2a, which is wrong. You are dividing all this by 2a. And when taking the square root, you take the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And most often you will see students taking just the square root of b squared, which is wrong. You take the square root of all this. So take note of this. Now the next thing will be for us to get our a, b, and c. So for us to get a, b, and c, we are going to compare quadratic equation negative 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 equal to 0 with the general form of a quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. We are going to compare them. So if we compare, this is x squared, a will simply be equal to negative 2. This is x, b will simply be negative 3. So you always take note of the sign. And c, the constant term, c will simply be equal to 5. So by making use of our formula, this is the formula, x will simply be equal to, we are going to replace b is negative 3. Take note, from the formula we have a negative sign, so this negative sign must be there. We have negative, this is a negative sign which is in the formula, b is negative 3, so we put the negative 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared negative 3 squared minus 4 times a is negative 2 times c is 5. Then we divide all through by 2 times negative 2. So this will give us, negative becomes positive. This will give us 3 plus or minus the square root of negative 3 squared is simply 9. If we take negative 4 times 2, it gives us 8. 8 times 5 gives us 40. So plus 40. Then we divide by 2 times negative 2, which is simply negative 4. So this will give us 3 plus or minus the square root of 49. Then we divide by negative 4. So this will give us 3 plus or minus, we know the square root of 49 is simply equal to 7 over negative 4. Since it is a quadratic equation, we know that we are going to obtain two solutions. So for the first solution of x, we are going to obtain either x is equal to 3 plus 7, this is 7, all over negative 4, or x is equal to 3, because we cannot be working with plus and minus at the same time. 3 minus 7 all over negative 4. Let's continue by the side here. The first one, if this will simply be equal, this will give us x to be equal to, we know 3 plus 7 gives us 10, 10 over negative 4, or if you take 3 minus 7, it gives us, in this case, x to be equal to negative 4 all over negative 4. Here, if we simplify this one, we are simply going to obtain negative 5 over 2, or here we are going to obtain 1. You know that negative 4 divided by negative 4 gives us 1. Then we conclude, therefore, x will simply be equal to negative 5 on 2, or x is equal to 1. So these are the solutions for this our quadratic equation. You can verify. It simply means if you replace x here with 1, we simplify, we are going to obtain a 0. Let's verify and see. Negative 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 is simply equal to negative 2 times 1 squared minus 3 times 1 plus 5. This will simply be equal to negative 2. We know that 1 squared is simply 1 minus 3. 3 times 1 remains 3 plus 5. So this will be equal to negative 2 minus 3 plus 5, which is equal to negative 2 minus 3 gives us negative 5. Negative 5 plus 5 is equal to 0, which is true. The same thing, if you replace x with negative 5 over 2, you simplify, you still obtain 0. So this is how we solve quadratic equations by making use of the formula method.